Between the Covers and Beyond, episode Coin Flip Summer, and maybe that feels like life. There are some things you write and immediately understand, and then there are things you write that seem to wait for you. Sometimes for years, sometimes, apparently, for 25 years. Today I want to do something a little different on Between the Covers and Beyond. I want to talk about a song. It is called Coin Flip Summer, and the voice singing it is mine. But the reason I want to bring it into this podcast is not really that I have made a song. It is because of where the song came from, what I now think it means, and what happened when words written back in 2001 were finally given a visual life in 2026. Because the strange thing about Coin Flip Summer is that, despite all the roads, cars, maps, petrol stations, rain and summer imagery, I do not think it is really a song about a road trip at all. It is a song about uncertainty. More specifically, it is about reaching a point where uncertainty stops being something that has to be defeated. The central image is obviously the coin. You throw it into the air. For a fraction of a second there is no answer. It is neither heads nor tails. Both possibilities still exist. And most of us spend an extraordinary amount of our lives trying to eliminate precisely that moment. We want to know, is this the right decision? Will this relationship work? Should I take the job? Should I leave? Should I stay? Will this succeed? Will I regret it? We collect information, we make plans, we analyze, we construct elaborate maps of what might happen next. And then life has the irritating habit of refusing to read the map. That is why one of the earliest images in the song matters to me. I found the map in the glove box, 3 coffee stains and a fold line, picked a road just to pick one, let the day make up its own mind. The map is there, but it does not provide the answer. There is still a choice, and sometimes you simply have to choose a road because standing still is also a decision. That idea becomes explicit in the pre-chorus. It could go wrong, it could go right. That sounds almost ridiculously simple. But perhaps most important things are simple once somebody finally says them. The song does not continue with, and therefore I have calculated which outcome has the highest probability. Instead, I like the edge, I like the bite. That is the shift. Uncertainty is no longer simply danger. It becomes part of what makes the experience worth having. And then comes the line that, for me, has become the center of the entire song. I want a maybe that feels like life. I find that line particularly interesting now because these words come from 2001. They were not written as a commentary on artificial intelligence. They were not written for this video. They were not written as part of some carefully engineered concept 25 years later. And perhaps that is why I trust them more. They came from an earlier version of me, and yet the idea feels more relevant to me now than it probably did then. A maybe that feels like life. Not certainty. Not optimization. Not the elimination of every possible mistake. A maybe. Something that might work. Something that might fail. Something that requires you to participate before you know the result.
Yet, oh, it could go wrong, it could go right. I like the edge, I like the bite. Coin flip summer, call my bluff. Coin flip summer, wild enough. Heads we run, tails we stay. Either way I'm and bright. I want a maybe that feels like life.
And that brings me to the video. I want to be completely explicit about something. The video for Coin Flip Summer was created using artificial intelligence. Not secretly. Not with an attempt to make you believe that a traditional film crew traveled around shooting every frame. AI is part of the visual language of the piece. And if you watch closely, you will see imperfections. One in particular is almost impossible to miss once you notice it. In some shots, the car appears to be left-hand drive. In others, it becomes right-hand drive. The steering wheel seems to have made a decision of its own. Now, obviously, that could simply have been treated as an AI continuity error. We could have regenerated the shots. We could have attempted to correct everything until the fictional car obeyed the ordinary laws of automotive continuity. But we deliberately did not. We left it there. Because in a video built around the metaphor of a coin toss, I rather like the idea that even the physical world could not quite decide which side it belonged on. Left, right, heads, tails. One possibility in one shot. The opposite possibility in another. The imperfection, therefore, became part of the concept. And I think that also says something interesting about AI-generated art. There is an understandable tendency to judge AI imagery by asking whether it has successfully disguised the fact that AI was involved. Did it fool us? Are all the fingers correct? Is every reflection physically accurate? Did the steering wheel remain on the approved side of the vehicle? But I am increasingly interested in a different question. What happens if you do not hide the machine completely? What happens if some of its uncertainty becomes part of the work? That does not mean every mistake becomes profound merely because an AI made it. A mistake can still just be a mistake. But as the person constructing the finished piece, you get to decide what to remove, what to regenerate, what to change, and occasionally what deserves to remain. The left-hand drive, right-hand drive inconsistency happened to fit the language of Coin Flip Summer almost too perfectly. So it stayed.
Your name on a receipt I kept, one hand on the wheel, one laughing at the odds that never went.
There are other images in the song that work in much the same way. The receipt that somebody keeps, the stranger offering a small chance, the rain, the parking lot, the red plastic cup. Nothing is particularly grand. There is no extraordinary revelation. And yet, nothing planned and nothing promised. Still, that was everything I got. That may be the other key to the song. We tend to think meaning arrives through important events, milestones, achievements, decisions we can explain afterwards. But quite a lot of life consists of insignificant things that become important only because we happen to be there. A receipt, a ridiculous conversation, rain arriving at the wrong time, somewhere we did not intend to stop, a person we nearly did not meet, a road we could easily have missed. And perhaps that explains the chorus. Heads we run, tails we stay, either way, I'm here today. At first glance, the coin decides whether we go or stay. But the more interesting statement is the final one. Either way, I'm here today. The outcome matters less than presence. You cannot control every result. You can control whether you inhabit the moment that follows. By the time we reach the bridge, something has changed. Not every answer has to stay Some days are just a beautiful sway. That is almost the resolution of the argument. At the beginning, there is a map. By the end, perhaps we no longer need one. Not because decisions do not matter, not because consequences do not exist, and certainly not because life should literally be governed by coin tosses. The coin is a metaphor. It represents the boundary between what we can control and what we cannot. We make choices. Then reality answers. And sometimes wisdom is simply knowing which part belongs to us. Which is why there was one visual decision I particularly wanted for the ending. Eventually, the coin comes down. But you should never really be given the satisfaction of discovering whether it is heads or tails. Because if the song has worked, by then you should not need to know. The point was never the result. The point was being willing to throw the coin into the air. 25 years after those words were first written, I find that rather comforting. And perhaps slightly unsettling too. Because we live in a period obsessed with prediction. Algorithms predict what we will watch. Systems predict what we will buy. Models predict what we might say. Businesses predict behavior. We measure, forecast, optimize, and simulate. And much of that is enormously useful. But somewhere inside all of that certainty machinery, human beings still have to live lives for which no model can provide the final answer in advance. There will always be a moment when the coin is in the air. Maybe that is not a defect in life. Maybe that's life. So that is Coin Flip Summer. Words that began in 2001. A song completed much later. A video created openly with AI, including an impossible car that cannot quite decide whether it wants to be left-hand drive or right-hand drive. And a 25-year-old idea that I understand rather differently today. Sometimes the objective is not to turn every maybe into a certainty. Sometimes you need a maybe that feels like life. I'm Luigi Pascal Rondanini, and this is Between the Covers and Beyond. And rather than talk over the rest of it, I'm going to leave you with a complete song and video. Watch the road. Watch the steering wheel. Watch the coin. But do not wait for it to tell you what the right answer was. Here is Coin Flip Summer.
In the glove box, 3 coffee stains and a fault line. Picked a road just to pick one. Let the day make up its own mind. My shoes hit dust at the station. Your name on a receipt I kept. One hand on the wheel, one laughing at the odds that never went my way yet. Oh, it could go wrong, it could go right. I like the edge, I like the bite. Coin flip summer, call my bluff. Coin flip summer, wild enough. Heads we run, tails we stay. Either way, I'm here today. Coin flip summer, spin it again. Coin flip summer, back to the wind. If it burns out, let it burn bright. I want a maybe that feels like life. Met a kid by the vending machines, selling luck with a crooked grin. He said, take the small chance, brothers, so I stuffed my fear in and kicked it in. Rain on the hood, red plastic cup, laughing hard in the parking lot. Nothing planned and nothing promised, still that was everything I got. Oh, it could go wrong, it could go right. I like the edge, I like the bite. Coin flip summer, call my bluff. Coin flip summer, wild enough. Heads we run, tails we stay. Either way, I'm here today. Coin flip summer, spin it again. Coin flip summer, back to the wind. If it burns out, let it burn bright. I want a maybe that feels like life. If the sky drops low, I don't fool. I've been learning how to love the whole. Not every answer has to stay. Some days are just a beautiful sway. Coin flip summer, call my bluff. Coin flip summer, wild enough. Heads we run, tails we stay. Either way, I'm here today. Coin flip summer, spin it again. Coin flip summer, back to the wind. If it burns out, let it burn